I mean, basketball has permeated, high and low, and it's still, that's the crazy thing is right now, we are the number one participatory sport in the world. So more people are playing basketball than soccer or swimming or field hockey or, what a crew, whatever, right? When you think about Brazil, India, China, it's in its early stages, right? And so the apex has not been met yet. But in New York, it has such a long history, such a beautiful one as well. We didn't. I always say that basketball was born in Springfield, but it was raised in New York, and some of that is included in my memoir because I had to. I am a historian.
He is the author of the book of Bobbito's book of b-ball, Bong Bong, and memoir of sports style and soul. We welcome Bobbito Garcia onto Hoopsology. Welcome.
I love the name of the podcast. Great choice. Whoever was the genius behind that, props.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we love hoops along with my two co-hosts. Before we delve into the book, we have a bit of a tradition on our show. We talk about the hottest topics when it comes to hoops, but we delve into basketball culture, what makes the sport so great. So take this question any way you want it. What is your first or favorite basketball memory?
Oh my God. Well, I wrote 216 pages of a memoir of all my favorite memories. Um, so I think right now let's just go with the process of authoring my memoir might be my favorite memory because it was just a joyride of pulling together photos, uh, 35 millimeter archives of my own work from the past 30 years, as well as writing about my experiences, both on and off the court, with entry points of family and identity and, upbringing in New York. But certainly, like, there's a lot of history about the game, outdoors on the asphalt in the five boroughs and beyond. So, yeah, right now, my favorite basketball memory is writing Bobbito's book of B-Ball Bong Bong. How's that for a shameless plug?
Now, that's incredible. I think your book really encompasses our show because we've delved into different parts of the sport compared to other leagues and athletics out there. I think basketball is very unique in terms of the culture. For our audience that's not familiar with just the culture of basketball in New York, could you enlighten them in terms of the special bond that New York has to the sport of basketball compared to some other cities just around the world?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, basketball has permeated, uh, you know, high and low, and it's still that's the crazy thing is right now, uh, we are the number one participatory sport in the world. So more people are playing basketball than soccer or swimming or field hockey or what a crew, whatever, right? And so when you think about Brazil, India, China, it's in its early stages, right? And so the apex has not been met yet. But in New York, it has such a long history, such a beautiful one as well. You know, we didn't. I always say that basketball was born in Springfield, but it was raised in New York, and some of that is included in my memoir because I had to. I am a historian. I was featured in uh, NYC Point Guards, executive produced by Kevin Durant on Showtime. I've appeared in a number of documentaries, and I've directed ones as well. I directed, produced, wrote, and music supervised Doing It in the Park, Pick Up Basketball NYC, which was released 12 years ago now, which is seems like yesterday. Shout out to my partner on that, Kevin Coolio from France. Um, but in any project that I'm doing, if I'm talking about myself, I'm gonna try to you know, raise up all the names and the places that are special and dear to me that I feel like need to be exposed as well. And New York is just, it's the Mecca. I've traveled to 47, maybe 48 countries around the world. I lose track. Anywhere I go, people want to play at Rucker, West Fourth, and there's no other outdoor arena that's as famous as those two. I mean, sure, Venice Beach, and you got the beautiful court in Croatia, by the castle, and you got La Perla in Puerto Rico. You got, Chicago and Detroit and Philadelphia. All of them have history, but it just doesn't add up to what the legacy that New York has created and proposed to the rest of the world, and even to the NBA. The league has taken a lot of its cues from my city. We have informed the NBA in many ways, whether it's been marketing, strategy, style, culture, all of it. It's the roots are right here. And I'm a proud member of it. Yeah.
No, that's completely true. And on that note as well, the fusion of hip hop and basketball. If you can go into that relationship, because I think it's, very intertwined. For myself, what infused that was NBA Street Volume 2. And even before the first game, it's one of the most iconic, not just a video game, it's just one of the most iconic things in my life. I was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in a desert. So just very different than New York, but just get to play in that game was really not only just you're just playing this an activity. It was just really getting a glimpse into culture of just another side of basketball I've never seen before, along with this ad and some other media out there. So could you just talk about that infusion of just hip hop and basketball, and also what you've been involved with as well?
Well, you mentioned NBA Street. I was the announcer of the game, and it was a joyride again, because I didn't even play video games, and I still don't. I only played NBA Street Volume 2 once, and I got my ass busted by this 13-year-old kid who's the son of my dear friend. But, I went into the studio to record, and I just infused all the essence and the ethos of what's inside of my soul from having played ball since the 60s and 70s in New York. And that's what makes that game so authentic. It really gave me they let me loose, if you will. I'm working on a new game called Play the Run, which is sort of be like the spiritual offspring of NBA Street. Some of the members of EA are involved in the game. It's not on EA Sports. It's a new company, and I'm looking forward to being in the studio again, and recording my crazy ooh and dokeo and all those things. But with regards to the connection of hip hop and basketball, they are two separate movements, but yes, they are extremely interconnected, and that they both were birthed culturally here in New York. And in some cases, the same locations. The park jams happened at the basketball court. Some of the indoor jams happened at gyms or rec centers where there were ball players. And hip hop took a lot of its fashion cues when it came to footwear from basketball. And I explored that in my first book, Where'd You Get Those? New York City Sneaker Culture, 1960 to 1987, where I sort of laid down the groundwork for how sneakers like the Chuck Taylor or the Pro-Cat 69 or Converse Dr. J or the Nike Blazer or the Nike Air Force One or the Puma Clyde, those were all like staple hip hop sneakers, but they were first popularized by ball players on the asphalt. So that's just one example of the interconnectivity, but don't get it twisted. Like hip hop is its own thing and basketball is its own thing. People are like, oh, basketball is hip hop. Like, no, basketball existed for 80 years before hip hop was even a thought in someone's head. So, but I love how they react to each other and how they play alongside of each other.
Was there anything that surprised you or stood out to you when your book was completed that you didn't have heading into completing your memoir, you think?
I think I was blessed to be with Edge of Sports, the imprint on the publisher Akashic, because in each case, they really understood what I was aiming at with my book. and gave me really positive feedback. And same thing like with EA Sports, it gave me a lot of liberty to be creative. So, for example, I was the art director of the book, and I worked with the designer Andres Jimenez, and I had this idea for Bobbito's book of B-Ball Bong Bong, not just to be a memoir, but actually to be an art book, and also to be a coffee table book, and also to be a reader at the same time, and also be like a textbook for the history of New York City playground basketball, and be a memoir at the same time. So it's a lot of things. And so, when I handed in the final manuscript, Dave Zirin, who was a former contributor to Slam Magazine and still, a phenomenal podcast host with Edge of Sports and radio personality, beautiful dude, highly respected author of amazing books that marry sports and social justice. Dave and Johnny Temple, the publisher of Akashic, both told me like, yo, it's too long. And also I told them up front, I was like, I want the book to not be cost prohibitive for high school students. Because for me, when I was in that age group, I was like fiending to grab anything I could about the history of the game. And so I read Rick Tellender's Heaven as a Playground. I read Jim Carroll's Basketball Diaries. I read Alex Wolf and Chuck Wildgeist's the In Your Face basketball book. Those are like pillars of basketball literature that inspired me to one day become an author. And so, it was decided that we should keep the page count at 216, which meant that I had to chop a lot. I had to lose a lot of photos. I lost 100, maybe 150 photos that I wanted to include. I lost about, about 23,000 words. It's about like 4 or 5 chapters worth.
Wow.
To get it down to the point where, okay, this is tight. This is the best of the best. And I really felt good about the end product. And I'm super proud of the project at this point. And I'm just tickled by the feedback already from the press as well as the early adopters. It's available on Akashic Books website. It's available at bucketsandbaskets.com. People were going there to those websites to pre-order it. And I told both of them, I was like, look, the books are in stock. Why are we waiting until July 1st? Let's, there's a thing in marketing where you like under promise and over deliver. People aren't expecting their copies until July 1st. It's like, let's send them out now. Why not? There'll be in bookstores worldwide on July 1st. But so people have been receiving them. And, excuse me. It's just so happy, and hitting me up like, yo, this book is incredible. Oh my God. I felt like that when I was a kid too. And I want to play ball now, so I love the energy and the feedback that I'm getting already. And it's a blessing. It's a total blessing.
Last question for you. I just want to get, because you're just a historian, you've just been around the game in so many different facets. I'm just very curious in this era of basketball now, just in terms of different forms of the game, of 3x3 to what the NBA is doing to what's happening internationally. What are you feeling about the vibe of the game? Are you feeling positive, negatively in terms of where it's going? What are kind of your vibes of just basketball overall? I know this might be an overarching question, but I'm just curious to get your perspective of what's kind of going on with basketball culture these days.
I think I embrace it all. Right now, there's more opportunities to listen to people analyze the sport and the game than ever in the history. Since, think about December 21st, 1891, when basketball was born, to 2025, where there's hundreds of podcasts, hundreds. You have people that are just recording out of their bedroom with 5 listeners, but they're having a ball expressing themselves. So I embrace that. I get a lot of requests. Can't do every interview, clearly. It's overwhelming. But, I appreciate it that, and and the way that the game is being received on social media is just, again, like unprecedented. You have kids that have like 250, 300,000 followers. And all they're doing is recording their one-on-one games, or they call them 1v1s. That's amazing. There are people who are making a living right now. You know, I mean, in the 60s and 70s, there were dudes who made a living going park to park, playing one-on-one and gambling. You'd be like, yo, who wants to put up 100, 200, you know? And there was movies, made about that because that was the hustle. And now you got kids just getting followers and getting ads, and that's amazing that they can sustain, potentially their families as well as, and it could be their well-being by just simply playing basketball and recording it. And so you have a real, not flattening, but an expansion of how the game is interpreted, how it's promoted, how it's exploited, and how it's extended to the masses. And so I love that. I love all that. And I hope that it continues.
Appreciate the time. Thank you very much. Can you let our audience know where they can find you on social media, any upcoming projects, and again, where they can find your book as well?
Absolutely. So my name is Bobbito Garcia, aka Cool Bob Love. The cool is with a K. And so KOOLBOBLOVE on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, Patreon. I have a Patreon page where people subscribe. Twitch. I spend on Twitch.tv at times. Whatever. I mean, I don't know however many other social platforms I'm on, but I'm on all of them. Tumblr as well. And you can go to coolboblove.com to purchase my book. I have merchandise. You can also go to bucketsandbaskets.com. That's BU buckets, the way it sounds, the letter N, and baskets, the way it sounds.com. They have my book and my merchandise exclusively. I'll be doing book release events in LA, Atlanta, and Brooklyn, hopefully Miami and other cities as well. I won't be in person at them, but I'll be supporting them remotely with author talks. And, come July 1st, your local mom and pop, brick and mortar, as well as the big chains, will be carrying my title. And if they're not, holla at the buyer and be like, yo, I want to buy Bob's book. I love him. I support him. I appreciate what he represents for the culture. Carry his book. Demand it. And that's how they put it on the shelves. But I do hope that people support indie businesses, particularly ones where the shop owners are people of color. And so by all means, go out there and not just my book, but, there's a ton of other incredible basketball literature out there. And, let's show the publishing world that, our sport matters, because sometimes they don't necessarily trust that a book of my caliber will sell. So, but thanks to Hoopsology, all your partners, and thanks for the request to have me on your stage. Peace.
Appreciate the time.